So today we got one of our longtime customers here, and we're going to do a half-inch taper. A lot of people refer to it as a number 4. I'm going to use my metal detachable blade. I prefer my metal detachable blade to a plastic attachment. It goes through the hair a lot easier, and we're going to layer the top, and then we're going to show you some styling techniques. And then when we're done with that, we're going to give them a nice beard trim, and then we're going to outline it with a straight razor, and we're going to give them a nice relaxing shave. So we're going to just dampen the hair down just a little bit so we can control it better and it doesn't fly all over when we cut it. And I like to start on the top and work my way down. That way I don't create a heavy line of demarcation here around the parietal area or the round of the head area. I'm going to grab my shear. I'm going to pick the hair up with my fingers. I'm going to keep my fingers parallel to the floor. I'm going to over direct it back slightly to where the recession is on both sides. Very important you do that. If you don't over direct the hair back to the recession, which you're going to wind up with a hole on each side. So we want to make his hair look as full as possible with the cut, and then we have a few more tricks we're going to show you with the style to make it look even fuller. And then as the head rounds down in the back, I want to make sure that I keep the hair at this angle here so it's longer in the front and longer in the back. I don't want to round it down in the back or start pulling it down back this way because we're going to wind up too short in the back and it's going to stand up. So we want that hair nice and even all the way across. And then we're going to take a section on the right and a section on the left. And then we just get a nice rhythm going. The comb goes in at a 45-degree angle. We rotate the comb. That creates the tension on the hair. Our fingers slip underneath, and we're using a traveling guide, and I can always see my guide. I can see my center guide, and I can see my underneath guide. So I call this technique scissor over fingers, pretty simple, and we're going to use a traveling guide. If the hair was shorter, I would use a scissor over comb technique. And now the other thing I want to do, I'm going to come to the other side, and there's a lot more hair on the left side. I want to make sure the hair is completely even across the top. If the hair is not layered properly, I don't want it to look like a comb over. And then one more section just to make sure. I want to comb all the hair down across, and then we're going to pick it up. And what we're going to find there is there's quite a bit of hair there. I still have my center guide. So this is going to keep it completely parallel to the floor. And it's going to be even all the way across the top. And this is going to give the hair a little bit more lift. His hair is very straight and fine. So we need to use all these tricks to get the hair to look, we want the hair to look nice and full. And then lastly, what I don't like to do when I'm cutting the top is I don't like to comb the hair straight down and cut straight across, because then what should be the longest part of the haircut becomes the shortest part of the haircut. So what I'll do is I'll pick it up and I'll pull it to the center, keeping in mind because of the recession on both sides, I'm going to over direct it the same way. Now right there, those long pieces, that's all the front length. So I'm going to cut it by lifting it up instead of across the forehead, so it still leaves it the longest part of the haircut. And I'll show you what I mean here. So now we're going to check and see if we brought that front length up where we wanted it. So you can see now it's right there, where before it was down to the middle of the nose. Now there's just those few long pieces in the front, those few dead ends, which are right there. I'm going to grab those, and just like that, 60 to 90 seconds, the top is done. Nice and easy. So now we have a couple choices. We can go right in with the clipper on the side, which is one way, but we're going to lose sight of the cutting blade if we do that. So just for example, to show you what I mean, if we took a 1/2 inch attachment and went right up, you can't see the cutting teeth. I like to see the cutting teeth so I can smoothly blend from the sides to the top. If I lose sight of the blade, I'm going to leave a heavy weight line. So I want to avoid the blending step. That's the most difficult part of the haircut. So if we can cut it out at least, 90%, then it makes our life a lot easier. So what I'm going to do is that same scissor over finger technique, using the top length as my guide. And I'm going to come around to both sides. I'm going to do the right side first here, and then we'll come back over to the left side. And then as I get to the front, same thing. That traveling guide becomes stationary. So what I mean is, we're traveling, I stop, and then I pull from the front to that guide, and then we can see the guide underneath, and then we just clean up that little bit. And then we brush it back. And now when we go in with our attachment, our 1/2 inch attachment, it's going to be a lot easier. We can see our line of demarcation right there. And we're going to come around on the left side and do the same thing. And pick it up. Actually, on this side, it's a little harder to pick up. I'm having a little trouble, so all I'll do is I'll switch to a scissor over comb technique. Hold the comb like this, thumb on the bottom, pointer finger on top, first crease of the middle finger, and it just rotates in your hand. Wrist doesn't move at all. And that way it lifts the hair, and you cut the hair on the base of the comb. So what I'm doing is I'm forming a V with the comb and the scissor, and I just cut it right on the base of the comb instead of holding the scissor like this and being in danger of cutting up in there what I don't want. And don't stop the scissor. If you stop the scissor, you're going to create a weight line. We don't want to create a weight line. All right, so there we have, now we have our guide created, and we're ready to go in with, we're just about ready to go in with the clipper. And then just one quick point, when you look at his neck and you see all the hair on his neck, that can be kind of intimidating, and you wonder, what am I going to do with that? How am I going to taper it out? Am I going to square it off? Am I going to fade it out? I don't even worry about it. I work from my longer blades to my shorter blades, and I promise you by the time we're going to get there, it's going to look a lot less intimidating, and it's going to be almost done by the time we go in with our trimmers. So I just do work on one step at a time. That's all I focus on, and then we go from there. I always like to make sure my customer is cleaned off. So I'm going to use a detachable blade clipper, and I'm going to use a metal blade, and I'm going to put a drop of oil on each of the running blades. And I do this before each use. Turn the clipper on, and then snap the blade shut. And then we're going to start on the side. And the slower you work, the faster you're going to be done. So I get a lot of times people ask me, how do I increase my speed? How do I get faster? You're actually going to finish a haircut faster by working slower, because you cut it on the first try. You don't have to keep rubbing over the same spot. Now if you notice, I'm starting to angle the clipper using a C motion, slightly below or at the temple area. I want to leave myself some room to blend there. If I go too high, then I'm not going to have room to blend. The general rule is when you comb the hair back, you never want the blend to be higher than that front area where we're combing the hair back. So with metal blades, I always hold the ear down and protect it with my finger, because if a metal blade touches the back of the ear, it's going to cut the ear. So just keep that in mind if you're not used to using metal blades. So you can see very slowly, when I arc that blade out, we're going to have very little blending to do. So we have a little bit of a weight line, but we don't have a shelf or like a mushroom line. So in the metal blade numbering series, this is called a 3 3/4 blade, and cuts the hair to a 1/2 inch, and it's universal across all brands. And then you can see on the hairline on the bottom, that's starting to to take shape a little bit, and as we go with our shorter blades, it'll take shape even more. I like to work from right to the left and just spin the chair. That's another way to be more efficient and speed things up without actually cutting faster. Okay, so that finishes this part up. So before I work on the blend here, I'm going to drop down 2 blade sizes. So I'm going to skip the 3.5, which is the next one down, which cuts the hair to 3/8 of an inch, and I'm going to jump right to my 2 blade. So before I do that, what I want to do is I want to brush off my clipper with my fingers here, and make sure we get that hair off there. And then we'll put that back, and then I'm going to grab my 2 blade. And now we're going to start the bevel around the edges here. We're going to start the reverse fade process into the beard. So right now, to be careful, I'm using the tip of the blade. That leaves it a little bit longer, and then I flatten the blade out, and that'll cut it a little bit shorter. So even though I skip the blade, if I tilt the blade up, it makes it 1 blade longer, and when I flatten it out, it cuts it at the true length that it is. We're going to do a 45-degree angle around the edges. I'm going to hold that ear down. Now sometimes you're going to have to comb it a few times because this particular model, he has very curly hair, so you got to go slower to grab it. The blade has a tendency to push it. Now, when we're going across the back, I want to keep the teeth of the blade. I want to keep it parallel to the floor. I don't want to round it because I don't want to lose the corner. So this is what we call tapering the hairline. Now there's a couple ways to go about tapering out a hairline. To a lot of people, the word taper means, a real deep, high scooping taper. So what I would call this is more of a low, natural hairline. And for a lot of the business professional guys, this would be the hairline of choice. A low, natural hairline. And we want to fade out, and we want to fade the bottom. So just like if you were going to, square off the hairline, you wouldn't want to go, you can see where his natural hairline is right there. You wouldn't want to go above that. It would look unnatural, and you wouldn't want to be behind the ears. So we're going to, our fade or our bevel or our taper, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be within a 1 finger width here, right on the natural hairline, instead of 3 fingers deep, up under the occipital bone. So there's just two different styles. So what I do is I classify it as a taper, a low natural hairline, or if we were to turn the clipper around, a square back. So there's 3 different ways to classify it. So now that I'm done with the 2 blades, same thing again. I want to brush that clipper blade off, get all that loose hair off it. And I'm going to pick up my 1.5 blade. Now my 1.5 blade is, I use this for blending. This cuts and blends at the same time. So I'll take the tip of the teeth and run it across the comb a few times, and that's going to blend the sides to the top. So instead of going in with a thinning shear, which has a tendency to really chop the hair up, and as it grows in, the ends of the hair splits, this particular blade will cut and blend at the same time. So we're using a clipper over comb technique. So if you look at the comb, we're using the same fading motion we were using with the clipper. The comb doesn't stop. The comb just takes an imaginary line, and we keep going until we run out of hair. Whenever you stop with any blade or any comb, you're going to wind up with a line of demarcation that has to be blended out. So whenever you start something, you want to commit and follow it through. Okay, and then we're going to work our way around the back. And if you notice, I'm working on a diagonal. That helps with my posture, and that helps me to see what I'm doing better. And you can see how easily that blends it out. One easy step. So we were 90% of the way there. And then another little trick, while you have that 1.5 blade on there, we can further taper that hairline out. And we're staying right on the natural hairline. So we're killing two birds with one stone as we're rotating the chair back around the other way. So as I talked about efficiency before, this is how you get faster. Not by cutting faster. My hand speed is very slow, but I do everything, correctly on the first try, and that's how, we increase that speed and that efficiency. So now, as I said before, all of a sudden the hairline is looking less and less intimidating as we're working it out one step at a time. All right, and then we're going to finish that right through to the front. Now his hair is the thickest right where I'm working. You'll find that with most men, their hair is the thickest right around there. So if you cut it too short, it's going to stick straight out. If you don't cut it short enough, the haircut's going to look out of balance. So that top piece in front, I want to comb that out of the way. I don't want to cut that too short. So now we have a nice blend there. And take a little step back, take a look at the work. See just a little bit here. So now what we're going to do, now I'm done with my detachable blade clipper, I'm going to switch to an adjustable clipper. And now I want to further fade out that hairline. So I'm going to grab a finishing comb, which is a smaller comb. And an adjustable clipper. Adjustable clipper just means the lever moves up and down. And you can see how the blade moves. So when the lever is all the way down or open, the blade is the longest and we're going to get a longer cut. And when it's closed all the way, you're going to get a closer cut. The advantage of the adjustable blade clipper is that you can get a lot of different lengths out of it. So I'm going to use the corner of the blade. I'm going to pull that ear down so that hair pops out. So his hair pretty much grows on the back of his ear, right to the back of his ear. So we want to pull the ear down and stretch it out. But we want to be careful that we don't have that really high arcing white wall. Then I'm going to close the blade down all the way, and I'm going to do it again and not go as high. So then when I come back with my trimmer, there's not much to do. I'm just going to cut it a little closer around there. Then I'm going to just further do a little more clipper over comb to work on that reverse fade from the beard to the hair. But I want to make sure that I'm not going to cut this any closer than I'm going to cut his beard. Okay, and now on the sides here. Now he has one of those beards. You're gonna see this from time to time, where the neck beard connects to the beard on the face all the way through. So that's what we're gonna do, is we're gonna clean that line up, and then we're gonna shave this area here as part of the haircut, and then when we do the beard, we're gonna take care of that. But you want to make sure that we definitely separate that. Now what I'm gonna work on here, the blade is still parallel to the floor just like the other ones. When you get to your shorter blades, your fading motion or your tapering motion, or in this case a seed motion, gets shorter. So we can call this a scooping motion, but in my mind what I like to call it, with the longer blades, I call it more of a scooping motion. With the shorter blades, I call it more a flick of the wrist. Because we don't want to go into the hairline or into that area that we've already tapered or faded, because we're gonna create a hole. Okay, so now that we've done all that, we're gonna come back, we're gonna close that halfway down and not go as high. And these are the hairlines that really make your haircut stand out. You know, that nice, clean, faded hairline. In this case, for you know, someone that, you know, wears a shirt and tie to work, we want to make sure that, you know, he has a nice natural hairline that's just above the collar. So this is pretty much where his collar would be. We don't want to see this much space between his collar and his hairline. And then while you're doing this, one of your most important tools is your mirror. So I'll always spin the customer to the mirror, you know, take a look in the mirror and see what we got going on, and then I'll adjust the hairline accordingly. One of the tricky things is with his hairline is it's very thick in the center and the corners, and it's thin here and here. So we're going to have to bring it up just a little higher without bringing it up too high. And this is the one process you can't rush. You can get through the rest of the haircut pretty quickly, but this is what's going to be extremely noticeable. So we want to make sure that we get this really nailed down. Okay, so then we look back in the mirror. We got it where we want it. Right corner's a little lower. Now we're going to go around the opposite ear. We're going to pull that ear down, and you can see how that hair's growing on the back of the ear. So I'm going to take the back corner of the clipper, very slowly roll that out. If you go too fast, you're going to miss hair. And in this case, it's not even my wrist is moving, it's just my forefinger is moving. Then we'll close it halfway. Then we close it all the way. Okay, so that part's good. Now we're going to come back with our trimmer and just neaten up those long ones and sharpen up the outlines before we shave his neck. So we're going to brush that clipper off. Then we're going to pick up our trimmer. We're going to pull that ear down. Now I like to work with a very light touch. I don't want the haircut to be uncomfortable in any way whatsoever. So I don't like to take a trimmer, turn it around and real hard and press. These clippers are very sharp. I can get just as neat of a line in front of the ear. This skin is very sensitive, so I'm always very careful. And if I am going to touch the blade, my finger here is between his skin, and that's controlling the pressure. So I'm actually holding the weight of the clipper, supporting it with this finger, and my middle finger on my other hand is just steadying it. And then as we spin him around, I'm going to bend his head to the side a little. Now you can see clearly we have the nice outline there, or the nice taper there. I don't want to cut the taper off. I want to keep that little bit of a taper or bevel, but you can see where his natural hairline is. I don't want to cut it in and make this real dark line. I want to keep it right on the natural hairline. And we're just going to very lightly touch it to the skin. And then we're going to turn the clipper around and we're going to shave to it. I'm not worried about all the rest of the hair on his neck because I'm going to shave that with a straight edge. My main concern is we want a nice straight line there. Okay, and then again, my clipper is going to be parallel to the floor on the bottom. So the taper, or the natural hairline is already done. I just don't want to get too close with this clipper and mess it up. I'm going to bend his head down to get a closer look. Now, every once in a while, because this clipper cuts so close, I'll turn it around and take the back of the clipper and use a fading motion, or that same flicking motion, and that'll fade it out just a little bit more instead of reaching over and picking up my adjustable again while I have this in my hand. Just a quick little trick if you have a little bit of a line. If it's too heavy, it's not going to work. Then you want to go to your clipper over comb. You can see that hair clearly sticking out of the white comb. Okay, so what looked like a real intimidating neckline when we just worked down one blade at a time isn't so bad. Now we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Again, we can see right where that natural hairline is. We're going to make a line. And by turning his head to the side like that, what it does is it stretches the skin out, which pops out the hair, so you don't have to press hard. It's just like shaving. When you stretch the skin, the hair pops out. You can just glide the trimmer or the razor over the skin, and it makes it a lot easier to cut the hair. You can get a lot closer. Never like to use a lot of pressure with your tools. And you can tell we're not using a lot of pressure because his skin is not turning red. And then we're going to do the same thing in the front of the ear there. Those few little hairs, we're going to take the back end of the clipper and clean that up. Okay, so that's it. So working for quick review, working from the top to the bottom, scissor over comb technique, scissor over finger technique on the top, square layers, make the hair look fuller. The round of the head section there, or above the parietal ridge, we did scissor over fingers again, holding our fingers parallel to the side. We followed it in with our 1/2 inch blade straight up. Then we used a 1/4 inch around the edges. And then we worked the outline or the taper with our adjustable clipper, and then finished off with our trimmer. So I've been doing it the same way, every haircut, every time for 27 years, and you get the same result. So the concept, the system is pretty simple. If you just follow it, and you're going to be done with a haircut in 15 minutes or less. And if you notice, I didn't have to go over anything twice. I just did everything once. So now that we have the haircut done, we're going to move into the next shave. So what I want to do is I want to loosen up his collar, and we're going to put a towel on the back of his shirt. So, and if they're wearing a necklace, what I like to do is pull the necklace down so that's out of the way. And when you're using the correct shaving products and a really good razor, to me, this doesn't matter. I don't need to shave that down. I want to cause the least amount of irritation as possible. So what I want to do is, I don't want to go over it with a trimmer. I don't want to go over it with 3 different clippers, because then the skin's going to be slightly irritated, or we're going to remove some of that natural oil in the skin, which is a protective barrier between the razor and the skin. So I always like to, for customer service purposes, your customer's always looking at himself in the mirror. They notice everything you're doing. I want to keep everything nice and clean. So get those hair clippings off the hair cloth before you move into the next step. So what I'm going to do here, he has an extremely thick neck, so I'm not going to take any precautions. We're going to start out with our Zorian of New York shave gel, which has aloe vera to soften the skin in it, and it has chamomile, and also has shea butter, which are anti-inflammatories. Now the gel is pretty thick, and what this is going to do, I like to use this as a pre-shave product. So what this is going to do is this is going to soften the skin, and it's going to act as a protective barrier between the razor and the skin. And then the next product I'm going to put on over that is our shave lotion, which is a brushless shaving cream. And this also has the aloe vera in it. It has shea butter, which is an anti-inflammatory, as I said before, chamomile. It also has cocoa butter in it, and it has a little bit of oil in it, which helps the razor glide better, and it also has cocoa butter in it, which is very moisturizing. So we're going to take 1 or 2 pumps, just like that, and it's both of the products are non-foaming. The gel is transparent, and the shave lotion is semi-transparent. So we're going to be able to see what we're shaving. And when we're done, we're just going to rub the excess into his skin as an aftershave moisturizer. So very important, before you pick up your razor, you want to brush, or you want to wipe your hands off so your razor doesn't slip in your hand. Now the reason why I like the combination of the 2 products is because with a shave gel, as good as shave gels work, eventually the shave gel itself will work its way into the skin and dry out, as you can see, but you can see the skin glistening. That's a little bit of the oil from the shave lotion, and that keeps the shave gel from drying out quickly. So we have a lot of protection on the skin. The skin is soft, the beard is soft, and I'm going to use my freehand stroke, and we're just going to take nice, quick, short shaving strokes and really stretch out that skin. I have the blade just about flat on his skin. So the better I stretch the skin, I don't have to use any pressure. And now, because I said before, it connects all the way around. If I try to keep using my freehand stroke, we're going to be into the beard. So we want to turn that blade around and use your backhand stroke. Keep stretching that skin. Now here, where I notice it's growing up in the air, if I go straight down, we're in danger of causing razor bumps. So what I want to do is I want to turn around to my reverse backhand stroke. So it's still a backhand, I'm just turning it upside down, makes it your reverse backhand stroke, and I want to shave up. So now there's no resistance against the blade. So we're going to come right to the corner there. So let's assume we are going to trim the beard and everything, but let's assume we're not gonna. We want to make sure that we clean it all the way up right to where his beard starts. In this particular case, where they connect. And then at the end, we just rub that in, and the skin is nice and soft and smooth. Okay, now we're going to work our way from right to left. We're going to bend the head straight down. And my general rule is, always shave to the t-shirt line. That way we're safe. When he puts the shirt and tie on and he goes to work, he doesn't have any of this hair hanging out over his collar. Now, if you notice, when I stretch the skin, this is as far away as my blade gets from my finger stretching the skin. No more than a couple inches. Because once you lose tension on the skin, then you wind up pressing harder with the razor, and you're not going to get as close of a shave. And you can see when the light hits the skin right where we have shaved, you can still see it glistening a little bit. That's all the moisture from the 2 shaving products that we used, and then we're going to rub that right in. So that's how powerful these 2 shaving products are, especially when used together. They work great separately, but they work even better together. And the nice thing is, with a really good razor and using the best shaving products, you don't have to. You're saving steps again. As I keep talking about efficiency, we don't have to cut the hair down first. Okay, and we're working our way around. Now when we get to the other side, to get a nice clean line, if we keep trying to use I know a lot of people sometimes can be uncomfortable switching to that backhand stroke. If we do this, we're in danger of cutting into the hairline. So from switching to your backhand stroke, all you do is you just turn your hand around and flip it upside down in your hand. So this is your free hand, and then you turn around to your backhand. And the proper way to hold the razor is like this, but if you tend to have a heavy hand, as I said, I take every precaution to balance it out and lighten the pressure. I have the 2 fingers on the other side. That's the only reason. So I don't have a lot of pressure. I don't have the weight of my 3 fingers in my whole hand. When I do this, then it allows me to just glide it over the skin. Everybody's going to be different there. That's what works best for me. Okay, now here we can see it's going straight down and to the right. So I'm going to shave that in a semicircle and just follow the growth pattern of the beard. You want to keep a customer for life, you take these extra steps, especially this step is very important. This gets an extra 3-4 days out of the haircut. Okay, and here, same thing. It's still growing down and to the right. It's not growing up like on the other side. It's growing different on this side. And if we weren't going to do anything with the beard, this is where we would stop. We want to make sure we get it all. And then when we're done, whenever I'm moving around with the razor and I'm not shaving, I always have it closed. That way I'm not gonna cut myself, or even worse, cut your client. So now that we're done, we want to just kind of rub that into the excess. We're going to rub it right into the skin as an aftershave balm. Or if somebody has sensitive skin, what I'll do in this case is I'll just take one more pump of the shave gel, just a little bit. We don't need a lot. And then just rub it in our hands very lightly, and then just rub it in the one direction on his skin. And then and we can use that as a post-shave gel. So it's great as a pre-shave and a post-shave gel. And then we're just going to blot his skin off and dry it off, and it's nice and smooth. And then with if there's any excess hair still stuck on there in the gel, you could put a little powder on his neck to get that off. Now we just want to show you a couple quick styling techniques to finish it off. When you're doing a haircut, what I find one of the missing components, one of the missing steps, a lot of times is the style. You don't have to take a long time, but you want to send your client out with his hair looking his best. That's another thing that's going to definitely keep them coming back. So, and it's also your chance to talk to your client about product, increase your revenue behind the chair through retail sales. Because just like haircuts need to be cut often, every 2 or 3 weeks, products, it's it's a consumable. So if they buy it and they like it, they're going to keep using it. So it's definitely a way to increase your revenue without increasing your man hours or labor hours behind the chair. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to take a drop of our styling gel, which also has aloe vera in it to soften the skin, and it is it's very thick. It's water soluble. There's no alcohol, so there's no flaking. So this I'm going to use as a styling aid first. So I'm going to take just a small amount, that much. I'm going to rub it in my hands, and I'm going to rub it in his hair. So for fine, straight hair, this is a great first step for styling, because it's going to give it a lot more fullness before you put the next product in. And then after that, it's basically, we're going to decide with the customer. We're going to ask him if he wants a shine, no shine, strong hold, light hold, and that's how we'll decide. But first, I want to get a nice shape to the hair. So I like to use a vent brush. This is a vent brush, and when I dried it by rolling the brush like I did, that's going to create a little bit of lift and a little bit of height and a little bit of fullness, making the hair look a lot thicker. So now we're to the point where we could leave it as it is. We could put a hairspray on, we could put more gel, we can basically use any product we want. So this is where I'm going to ask the client what he prefers. Do you like a strong hold or a light hold? That's the first question we always want to ask.
Strong hold.
Strong hold. Do you like the wet look or the dry look?
Dry.
Okay. So he wants a strong hold with a dry look. So we have two choices. We can use a hairspray and just spray it in place so it doesn't move at all. And this hairspray also has aloe in it, and it's quick dry. It has vitamin B5, which is very good for the health of the hair, and it also has a botanical complex that controls the wave and the frizz. So it's going to keep it nice and smooth and keep it from getting wavy and curly during the day. Or the second choice that we have is a very strong our shaping paste. So basically it's just a very thick paste, and what that's going to do also, it's going to give it a strong hold, but it's not going to harden up like a spray. So we have two choices. So again, I'm going to ask the customer, would you rather have it real stiff during the day, or do you want to have something that's going to have a strong hold that you can move through it, or it's pliable if you want?
The being able to move through it.
Oh, okay, so then we're going to go with the paste. So I'm going to use just about right to my knuckle. That's about it. This particular paste, just like the spray, it dries really fast. So the best part about it is it emulsifies like a cream in your hands. So when I show you my hands, it emulsifies and looks like a cream, and it goes through the hair real easy. And as I said, we already have the shape from drying it with the gel. And you can also use this without the gel. The gel is not a necessary, it's an optional step. The reason why I did this, again, because you have straight fine hair. And these products are extremely water soluble, so it comes off my hand with just water and the towel. And it's very moisturizing to the scalp as well. And then before it dries, because it also dries really quick, as I said, like the spray, then we're gonna want to comb through it relatively quickly. And it's going to give it a nice full look. And then that pretty much, the paste is really strong. It won't move all day. If he wants to move a little bit, he could get a little bit of water on there if he wanted to, and that would loosen it up. And unlike most real strong paste and cement, this will come out with just water. So obviously you want to shampoo your hair, but it will come out before the shampoo even hits your hair, as strong as it is. That's one of the other extremely important benefits of this paste. So that completes the haircut, and we're going to move on to the beard trim.